Good morning, Africa and its mighty diaspora. This is the X-Man, your brother, your griot, your street-level historian, coming at you with fire in the belly and truth on the tongue. Today, we call out the biggest hustler on the block, France. The old colonizer is back on the prowl, sniffing around West Africa like a starving wolf. But this time, the hunt isn't for peanuts or palm oil. This time, the prize is black gold, the newly discovered crude oil off the coast of Senegal. And the X-Man is here to tell you, France thinks it just found a new lifeline to prop up its collapsing empire. I say not today, not ever. Let's lay it bare. Paris is broke. Its government has collapsed repeatedly. Its debt is choking it. Its birth rate is in the basement, and its people are in the streets. France is gasping for Africa's resources like a drowning man clawing for air. And now, with Senegal's massive offshore oil discovery, the French elite see a fresh oxygen tank. They're already drooling, already plotting, already sending their politicians to whisper threats in the dark. Just days after protests toppled France's last prime minister, the brand new prime minister stood before the world and said Senegal will face important terrorist attacks unless France gets a piece of that oil. Family, that's not a prediction. That's a blueprint. That's a mobster warning. Let us in or chaos comes knocking. And here's the kicker. Right before that threat, Senegal's own president made a cozy visit to Paris. Smiles, handshakes, photo ops. A few weeks earlier, he was summoned, yes, summoned, to the White House with four other West African presidents as if they were schoolboys waiting for the principal. You remember that meeting. Trump didn't invite them. He called them in. That's how the West treats African leaders. They think African leaders are their subordinates. Now Paris is playing the same game. Behind those velvet curtains in the Élysée Palace, what promises were made, what deals were offered, what pressure was applied, you already know. But Africans have a long memory. We have not forgotten what France has done to Senegal before. Go back to World War II. Senegalese tirailleurs, thousands of black soldiers, fought and bled to liberate France from Nazi occupation. When the war ended and those heroes asked for the back pay they were owed, French troops opened fire. Hundreds of Senegalese soldiers were unalived in cold blood simply for demanding their wages. That massacre, Thiaroye, 1944, is written in the soil of Dakar and in the soul of every West African elder. And France never apologized in any way that mattered. That's who they are. That's who they remain. So when the new French prime minister stands up and says Senegal will face terrorism if it dares to manage its own oil, understand the pattern. From Niger's uranium to Mali's gold to Burkina Faso's cotton. Every time Africa finds wealth, instability magically appears. Rebels sprout like weeds. Terror groups suddenly have weapons and cash. And right behind them come the so-called peacekeepers, waving flags of partnership while they chain another generation. This is France's game. Same playbook, different century. Halfway through this message, I need every listener to lean in. If this truth is hitting your chest like a drum, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video like your people's future depends on it. Because it does. Send it to your cousins in Dakar, your aunties in Harlem, your brothers in Bamako. Let the world hear the beat of Africa's heart. We don't whisper truth, we roar it. Back to the story. France is not just broke, it is desperate. Its economy depends on cheap African resources. When Niger cut off uranium exports, France's nuclear power grid wobbled. 2 reactors shut down. Energy bills soared. Investors panicked. That's the real reason Paris eyes Senegal's oil like a starving dog. They believe this discovery is their ticket to survival. In their minds, Senegal's coast is their new lifeline, their last chance to keep lights on in Paris and pensions flowing to a graying population that refuses to tighten its belt. And yet, They still talk to us as if 1960 never happened. They still think the CFA franc, designed in Paris, gives them the right to dictate Dakar's destiny. They still believe African leaders will bow for a handshake and a bag of euros. Some might, too many still do. That's why the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States, shines like a lighthouse in this storm. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, young, defiant, sovereign. They showed the continent that France can be told to pack up and leave. They showed that when you own your gold, your uranium, your destiny, the colonial master has no power. Senegal belongs in that alliance. The blueprint is there, the door is open, it's time to walk through. And let's call out names because history demands receipts. Emmanuel Macron, the smooth talking president who lectures Africa on democracy while his own police beat protesters in the streets. Your empire is crumbling, monsieur. Your new prime minister, barely sworn in, already threatening a sovereign African state with terrorist attacks. That's not diplomacy. That's gangsterism in a silk tie. And to the old French corporations, Total, EDF, Bolloré, you've looted Africa long enough. The free lunch is over. Now hear this. Senegalese soldiers once fought and died to free France from fascism. Today, the fight is to free Senegal from France's economic fascism. If Dakar stands tall, if it joins the AES and claims its oil, France collapses further under its own history. The same history of arrogance and exploitation that built Paris on African backs will bring it to its knees. People of Senegal, the choice is yours. You can let foreign powers dictate your destiny, or you can rise with the Sahel and say, no more. Do not be fooled by promises of security assistance. Remember Thierroyer. Remember every broken deal, every stolen resource, every time your elders were paid with bullets instead of wages. Remember that every so-called terrorist threat may be a manufactured excuse for intervention. Guard your coast, guard your oil, guard your sovereignty. And to my brothers and sisters across Africa, from Ghana to Kenya, from Nigeria to South Africa, the lesson is the same. When you discover wealth, guard it like the crown jewels. Foreign hands will reach for it before the ink dries on the announcement. But if we stand together, they cannot steal what we refuse to sell. France, hear me clearly. The age of colonial arrogance is dead. You cannot mask theft as partnership. You cannot threaten a nation and call it friendship. Your empire was built on African labor and African blood. And now that the tide has turned, you will drown in the same history you tried to bury. No sellouts, no filters, no fear. Africa rises while France falls. This is the X-Man signing off.